At this point, the image before you grows silent, and you hear a voice from behind you. It is your mother's voice. You turn around, and your mother starts speaking in a ghostly as a ghostly figure, and she says, "Oh, Max, I had hoped so much more from you. You always wanted to do more with your life, to not just be cooped up in where you were and living every day to day. You always wanted to do something more with your life." And she starts to say more, but your willpower manages to disperse the image before she says anything further. And when the image disperses, another woman takes her place. It is the same woman that you saw in the mirror.
Ah. The one with the black hair.
The one with the black hair.
You know who?
The woman says to you, "You are very strong-willed. That will be very important while you're in the Fade," she says.
Are you the demon making all these visions?
"I am no demon," she says. "But I might just be your only hope to get out of here. You need to find the rest of your companions. They are trapped within illusions of their own. You are one of the very first to break free."
Thank you for this advice. I will do what I can.
She disappears, and in her place is this pedestal. If any of you played Origins, you know what I'm talking about. It's a
Oh, here we
pedestal
go.
that lets you choose where to go in the Fade, within the Fade. Also, there's a method to my madness. There was a reason why I was asking about your biggest fear and your deepest regret.
Ah.
There's a
I
reason.
saw that. I was
I was
like,
like,
Yeah.
what are
Yeah.
each of your characters' deepest fears and biggest regret?
Yep.
It's method to my madness.
Nice. Nice work.
Yes. So, let's go back to was it Lealden? Is it Lealden?
Was the first one
What
we
you
started
started
with,
with? Yeah.
or the person, or the person who would probably sink out of it the next?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my next.
the one with the least willpower. Was it Lealden?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so we're gonna keep on working our way up.
All right.
You find yourself in Orzammar. You are actually in a dwarven house of some sort, and there are all these scientific charts all over the place, and devices and automatons. And right now you are a sort of like this disembodied
Yeah.
figure. You're like this ghostly figure, and you're just watching the scene before you.
Mhm.
You see Cogs.
Hmm.
He is going through notes. He's going through a book, and he's going through some notes, and he looks like he's trying to figure out the answer to a problem of some sort. And next to Cogs is this female dwarf, sweet-looking female dwarf, and there's like a chalkboard, and she's like finishing up, figuring out an equation. And Cogs is saying, "Sir Dagna, are you sure that this equation's correct? Did you remember to carry the one here?" Dagna looks over and she chuckles. "Oh, no, because you also have to take in consideration the combustion factor of the lyrium as well. So it's more like..." She takes out a quill and says, "That." "Oh, well, thank you. That's very clever of you." Then there's a pound on the door. Boom, boom, boom.
It's Maximilian.
The
Kicking the door.
Dagna says, "Coming." She goes over to the door and she opens it, and there in front of her are a bunch of golems. The golems say, You did not show up to the summons, in a very earthy voice. Dagna says, "Oh, was that today? I'm sorry. We were so busy with our calculations that time just kind of flew." The golem says, "You know the rules." And the golem grabs Dagna by the shoulder and drags her out, and she shrieks. At this point, Cogs yells out, "Dagna!" And he rushes out the house with her. The golem pulls Dagna out and tosses her in front of this very massive looking golem. The Dagna looks up at him, looks up at the golem, and she says, "Ah, Queen Branca, I didn't expect to see you here." Branca, which is the name of the massive golem, says in a very booming voice, and says, "You are supposed to report to the summonings. Remember the rules. All dwarves are supposed to be transformed immediately." Dagna says, "Yeah, about that. Cogs and we were coming up with a new solution so that all dwarves doesn't have to become golems. If we're able to make our invention work, we should be able to be safe up in the air, in the surface." "Ha ha ha!" Branca laughs. "The surface. No self-respecting dwarf would ever be caught dead up in the surface. No, we belong down here. This is our home, and we will defend it against the darkspawn by whatever means necessary," Branca says. Dagna says, "But please, if I implore you to please reconsider." At this point, Cogs has caught up to Dagna and says, "Yes, please reconsider, Queen Branca. We know that this is very a radical solution, but we need to be able to preserve dwarven kind as well." Branca says, "There is no other choice but to stay here and defend our home against the darkspawn, and that means every dwarf needs to become transformed in order to for the good of Orzammar and all dwarven kind." At that point, the golems grab Dagna and Cogs, and they drag him towards the dust town, like the bottom district, which is the lower depths of the dwarven city. They take Dagna and Cogs, and they chain them up, and there's like a long line of dwarves that are waiting to become transformed. In front of you, there's this big giant device. For those of you who played Origins, you know that this is the Anvil of the Void.
Mm-hmm.
And there are these chambers, like they almost look like what the cast mold things that you put Play-Doh in. And there's a big giant stone chamber that opens up, and you see dwarves climbing into this mold, I guess, as the massive stones come down, using very, very carefully engineered work by the dwarves. And anyway, this whole network of I guess golem creating dwarves are connected to the Anvil of the Void. And Cogs looks terrified, and so does Dagna. The dwarf in front of them notices their terror, and he says, "You should be honored. Shame on you for being such cowards." And you hear screams coming from the molds as the Anvil of the Void activates. Blood-curdling screams, and the dwarves in line, some of them react to it, but others remain stoic. Like, nope, this is the price that we have to pay. This is what we have to do. And yeah. Suddenly, a automaton device starts crawling up towards Dagna and Cogs, and it doesn't seem like any of the other dwarves notice or any of the golems notice. Cogs looks down and gasps. Oh. He looks around, making sure nobody's watching. The automaton raises up a pen, some sort of extension that's about the size of a pen, and it shoots out this laser-looking thing at the chains around Dagna and Cogs. He manages to get Cogs free, and Cogs says, "Okay, get Dagna next." Zaps Dagna's chains, and as the next round of golems are being created, and you hear more screams, that's when Cogs and Dagna book it, and they make a break for it. The other golems run after them. They're running as fast as they can, and Cogs and Dagna go into a corner as several of the golems rush past, and you're basically following them. They're trying to make their way out, and Dagna says, "Where are we going to go?" And Cogs says, "We have to get to the surface. We have to leave Orzammar. We need to make sure that our research is preserved." Then they reach the main area of Orzammar that you're familiar with, Leoldin, with all the lava,
Diamond District.
with all of the
Or
lava.
was it, yeah, was this the Diamond District or was this elsewhere?
This is like the main area of the main hall, I guess, the entrance, the foyer-ish area of Orzammar. So they're close to the surface.
Okay.
And that's when they run past a group of golems. The golems chase after them, and Dagna manages to get a little bit of ahead of Cogs.
Mm-hmm.
One of the golems grab a hold of Cogs, and Cogs is squirming to escape. Dagna ducks out as the golems start to turn around to drag Cogs away. She looks around and she notices something up in the ceiling. So she runs ahead of them and whistles at them. And she pulls out a vial, and she says something along the lines of, "So what exactly do you get when you mix heavy doses of carbon monoxide with natural deposits of lyrium?" The golems are about to respond, and then she chucks a vial towards the ceiling above them, and you see that there's like the lyrium deposits up on the ceiling. There's a massive explosion. The rocks start falling. During the confusion, the golems who are holding Cogs lifts up his hands to block from the debris. Cogs wiggles his way out, and there's a big giant. Like I said, there's a big a cave-in, which ends up trapping Dagna inside of Orzammar, with Cogs on the other side, leading to the surface. Cogs is like trying to dig through,
yeah.
and yelling out, "Dagna, no!" But he can't lift up the heaviest of the boulders. It's too heavy for him. And you can hear Dagna's voice from the other side yelling. He's saying, "Cogs, it's up to you now. Take our research, please. Take our research and finish what we started." And Cogs starts weeping. "But Dagna, no, we're supposed to finish this together. I can't finish this without you." It's at this point, Lealden, you materialize. You're no longer a ghostly figure, but you're right behind Cogs right now as he starts to weep. "I don't know what to do. I can't make it to the surface by myself. I've never been to the surface before. I don't know what it's like. What if I fall into the sky?"
Is it possible for me to try and move any of the boulders?
You can, but even with your strength, you don't think that you'll be able to lift them. Cogs doesn't notice you yet, by the way. He's still like weeping.
I place a hand on his shoulder.
He he gets startled when you place a hand, and he turns towards your direction. "Lealden? What are you doing here?"
I don't know altogether myself. Do you know where we are?
We're in Orzammar. Wait a minute.
But I was just in the Frostbite Mountains a minute ago.
Cogs dries his eyes. This has already happened. Why is this happening again?
Is your device reacting to anything?
He looks. "No. This doesn't feel right. I don't think... Should we be in the Fade?"
The Fade?
And
Would Lealden know about what the Fade is?
Lealden, I think, would know what the Fade is.
Okay, sorry. I'm just the guy coming into this.
That's fine.
still.
Well, you want to roll for it? Roll a magic roll.
Okay, I'll roll magic roll. Lealden might know. Whether Lucky would know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, the Fate is kind of like several different vague things on that. It's kind of like not knowing what heaven is, what you know about the Fates scientifically.
Yeah.
Would
Anyone
probably
here-
be something by a roll.
Anyone here?
I'm not
People
sure.
know it's-
Anyone here ever play Final Fantasy X?
Yes.
Yes.
It reminds me of the far plains, or whatever that
In
place is
a
called.
sense, I feel like most common people know that it's like the place you go where you dream.
Where you dream. Mhm.
Big dream.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some
I was
people believe it's
getting
where you go
vague.
when you die.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
people believe that you go somewhere with the Maker when you die, which is in the Fade. So
Either way, that's there.
All right. You've heard you know very basic information about the Fade. You know about it, but
mages go into it to do magery.
right.
The Fade, but
As-
this feels.
When Cogs realizes that they're in the Fade, Orzammar, the scene before you kind of fades away, and you find yourself in a very swirly, dream-like location. Again, very farscape. So now that we realize we're in the Fade, the illusion disappeared.
I think I've been to the Fade once, but twice I imagine, but it's never felt this real before.
We need to find the rest of our friends. Cogs
Right.
says. Let's go. You move.
Yes.
Meanwhile,
We move.
who is the next
Hey.
second lowest?
Yep, right here.
All right,
That person there elsewhere.
Delwyn. You find yourself
You
find yourself in a bar.
My dream.
You find yourself in a bar. I don't think you recognize the bar, but there's a really cute barmaid there, and Plim is
Knew it.
You have never seen this man before, but he's a rather handsome-looking man. He's not a werewolf. You've seen a rather handsome-looking man, and he's in the bar, and he's he looks kind of down in the dumps, and the barmaid comes up to him and she says, "Are you penny for your thoughts?" At that point, Plim, you don't necessarily know it's Plim until
Right.
he starts speaking, and you kind of recognize the voice. He sort of shakes his head and says, "I don't know. I don't know what to believe." The barmaid says, "You're talking about your friend, right?" Plim says, "I can't believe that he did what he did. Everybody, I mean, people said that they caught him red-handed, but..." The barmaid sort of tries to comfort him. I know. He seemed like a very sweet man. I don't believe it either." Plim says, "I'm sorry. I just don't know what to do. There's something. I just wish there was something I could do, but there's." He gets he looks very, very upset, and the woman continues to try to comfort him a little bit. Time moves forward a little bit, and you see that it's probably been a couple years has passed roughly, and Plim, his uniform is it looks slightly different from the uniform from Maximilian, and you gather that he's been promoted to a higher rank, and he's with the barmaid again, and they're in front of this beautiful lake, and they're talking, and you can't really make out what they're saying, but they seem to be having a very pleasant conversation. Plim then tells her one moment. He pulls out something and gets down on one knee. He opens the box, and it's a ring. It's an engagement ring. Again, you can't really hear what's going on, but he says something, and the woman is like very ecstatic and excited. She starts nodding, and then he gets up, and they wrap their arms around each other, and they kiss. Time moves on even further, and you see the werewolf Plim, and he was unconscious, lying on some sort of campsite. He's like in some sort of campsite by himself, and his body is surrounded by torn pieces of a bedroll, almost like he slept in the bedroll as a human and then woke up as a wolf. He wakes up and he looks at his hands and he looks at his body, and little by little he starts realizing what's happening to him, and he crushes his fists together and gives a loud howl in grief. More time passes. You see Plim and all these werewolves inside of the ruins, and the lady of the forest is there. Plim is bowing before the lady, and he says, "My lady, thank you so much for everything you've done, but I don't belong here. I need to get back. I need to get back to my wife." The lady says, "Plim, you are no prisoner here. You are always welcome to leave whenever you wish. However, I fear that you have not been able to fully control your bestial tendencies. Your humanity, you've only just started recovering little by little. I fear that you will not be in fully control of yourself if you return. Never mind the fact that I don't think that anyone in the real world is going to accept you." The Plim says, I have to try. It's been so long. I need to see her again." And the lady of the forest says, "If that is your wish, You are free to go. Forward a little bit of a few days later. It's nighttime in Denerim. Plim is trying very hard to stealthily make his way past the guards so that they don't see this massive wolf. You find him going into towards this building, and along the way he notices that somebody has like a beautiful garden. He picks up some flowers from the garden and then goes off to the next house, to his house. He sniffs the air, and he says to himself, she's still here. Wait. Something's not right.
Uh-oh.
He goes he carefully, he makes his way over to the window, which is the window going into his bedroom. And you hear noises, like pleasurable noises.
Oh.
Oh no.
He looks inside, and there is the woman in bed with another man. And they're going at it. Plim, his claws start to he starts to rage starts going through him, and the flowers fall to the ground. He makes his way around the house, barges through the back door. There's a gasp from the bedroom. He quickly makes his way, breaks through into the bedroom door. The woman shrieks, and the man yells out in surprise too. They're both naked and unarmed. In a rage, Plim, something comes over him. It's like he's completely different from the werewolf that you have come to know. And he pounces towards the bed. That's when the scene shifts. You see blood on the floor, and you hear the woman weeping, and Plim looks at his claws and he sees the blood in his hands, and Plim says, "What have I done? What have I done?" The woman shrieks, and she says, "Leave me alone." Plim turns to her and says, "It's me. It's me, it's Plim." The woman stops as she is in shock, and this is all just so much is happening to her at once, and she says, "Plim? Is that you? What happened to you?" Plim is about to say something, but he can't. He's like, the words just can't form in his mouth, and she says, "Get away from me, you monster! Get away from me! I never want to see you again!" And Plim is about to say something, and she takes a vase from the nightstand, and she chucks it at him. He dodges as it sails over his head and breaks in the wall. She says, "Get out of my life, you monster!" He runs away. He runs, and he makes his way back into the forest. Plim slumps down in the moonlight. He howls, and the werewolf starts to break down, and he starts to weep, and he starts crying. And again, he just keeps saying, "What have I done? What have I done?" It is at this point, Delwyn, that you materialize, and you are now able to... You're no longer a ghostly figure. What do you do?
Kind of goes and walks over in front of him.
Plim smells. "I know that scent." He turns towards your direction.
Time to wake up.
What are you doing here?"
That is a good question, isn't it? think hard about it.
He thinks, this is an illusion.
There you go.
He howls again. Why are you tormenting me? Why? He yells out. That's when the scene before you fades away. Moving on to the next person.
Which would be me, I believe.
Now you see why I said there's a lot of story. So I was encouraging you to get 2 people because it would be nice to know the backstory of 2 people instead of just 1 person.
Yeah.
I had So we move on to Benale. You are back at your house, and you're also ghostly ethereal. You can't manipulate the scene at all. You watch yourself as you are being... You watch yourself outside as Nathan, the servant boy, is watching out the window as you are being shipped away to the circle. Nathan is tearing up a little bit, and one of the other servant elves says, "There's no sense in getting all weepy. You're not going to be able to see him again, so just... You have to be able to come to grips and move on." Nathan just keeps shaking his head. Fast forward a little bit, and you see that the same elf that was talking to Nathan is introducing him to someone. It's another boy, roughly the same age, maybe a little bit younger, probably a little bit younger than Nathan. The servant says, "We have a new one amongst our ranks. I believe his name is Arthur." You can't help but feel that Arthur looks very familiar to you, Gwenaëlle, but I'm not sure if you can really put your finger onto why he's familiar. Arthur looks like a very timid boy. He looks really scared, but he gets accepted, and Nathan goes up to him and shakes his hand. "Hi, I'm Nathan. It's not so bad around here. The father gets a little drunk, but all in all, we get treated pretty well. So just do what you need, do what you're told, and everything should be fine." Fast forward through some time. There's a party going on at Gwenaëlle, your house, at the estate. At this point, you see your mother, and she has completely, left her personality behind and is now, super Orlesian noble. Again, you figure this is some sort of a coping mechanism, and she's just, she's just hobnobbing with all of these women and about nothing really important in particular except, who so-and-so is wearing and the latest fashions and all that good stuff.
My character just goes like this. "What happened to you, mother?"
And then you hear a shriek, and one of the women says, "My pearls! Somebody has stolen my pearls. I left it down here on the counter when I went to the washroom, and now it's gone. Who was the last person here?" She demanded. Your father comes in, and has a little bit too much to drink during this party. He goes over to the elves, and he says, "Who is on duty in this room?" The elves were saying, I think it was Arthur, but he would never. Your father brushes past them, and Nathan is currently, putting some hors d'oeuvres onto a tray as he sees your father walking past the kitchen. He puts the tray down and he walks over and pokes his head out, and the man says, "Arthur!" Arthur appears. and he looks very timid and scared. And he says, "Did you steal the woman's pearls?" And the woman is there with him. Arthur says, "No, sir. I would never do such a thing." The woman says, "Oh, of course the scamp is lying to be able to hide. Of course the scamp is lying to save his own hide."
Come on, Father.
He says, "I assure you, I didn't do it." Arthur says, "This isn't the first time that I've had to deal with your lies," Father says as he takes another swig. "Come with me." He takes Arthur and he drags him out of the room. He ducks away and takes him into the shed out back. He throws Arthur into a chair and he starts binding his hands behind the chair. And Arthur is like, the poor elf is like, tears are streaming down his eyes, and he says, "Are you sure, sir? I didn't do it. I didn't do it." Your father says, "I'm tired of your lies."
My character's like, "No, stop." It's probably no use and whatnot.
Yeah. Your father, he says, "I'm tired of your lies. I had to deal with it. I had to deal with so many lies from my own wife even," he says. He pulls out what appears to be some pliers and a dagger, and he says, "You will never lie to me anymore." He goes over and tilts Arthur's head back, opens his mouth, and he jams the tools into his mouth as he resorts to cutting off Arthur's tongue. It's at this point that you realize why Arthur looks very familiar. He looks a lot like a very young archer. Fast forward.
Oh my.
Fast forward.
My character would like fall backwards. I'm not sure if he can sit anything, so he might just nearly plop on his butt.
Nathan is comforting Arthur. He's has like a bandage around his jaw, and Nathan says, "I can't believe he would do that. He's normally a nice man. It's just the alcohol. I'm sorry, Arthur. I'm sorry that happened to you," Nathan says. "This isn't right. I need to find Gwenael. He should be able to talk some sense into his father." And one of the other elves says, "Nathan, you can't. Like, he's in the circle of magi. There's no way they're gonna let him out of there. There's no way." And he says, he has to come. He has to come back and make things right. Like, he's the only one who can reason with his father. Go ahead. Were you gonna say something, Gwenael?
He reaches his hands up. "Hey, Nathan. He's just kind of like looking at his hands, and he's just really overwhelmed and whatnot and stuff. Yeah. He's like tearing up and everything, and it's like maybe he's even starting to sob, but he's trying to bite it back. It's that this is too painful.
Nathan says, "I'm going." "You're going where?" "I'm going to the White Spire. I'm going to the Circle of Magi tonight." "Shh! Don't say such things," he says. "There's no way that they're going to even let you into the tower, much less that you're going to be able to escape. If you get caught, the punishment's going to be even worse than Arthur's." And Nathan says, "No, my mind's made up. My mind's made up." Fast forward. You get to the front of the White Spire, and Nathan is there. Somehow he managed to escape. There is a Templar at the front, and Nathan says, "Excuse me, please. I need to speak with somebody from the tower. It will only take a moment, please. It's an emergency." The Templar looks down, lifts up his helmet. It's Dominique.
Oh,
Dominique
My
says...
character does this flatly says, because usually he speaks to himself in Norwegian, especially during these visions, because everything's probably in Norwegian. He just says flatly and Pharrell into himself, "Oh shit."
Mm-hmm. Dominique says... He says... Aren't you a servant, elf? Where's your master? The elf says, please, have mercy. It's emergency. I can't explain. I came all the way here to see Gwenaël. As soon as he says the name, Dominique's eyebrows furrow. Gwenaël. You're here to see Gwenaël? Nathan says, you know him? You know him? The Dominique says, Gwenaël is dead. Nathan says, no, it can't be. He can't be dead. Dominique says, I'm afraid he is. He's the abomination that almost caused this entire tower to fall. We had to take matters into our own hands.
What?
Nathan says, no, you're lying, he says.
Yes, he's lying!
You're lying! As soon as he says that, he flames burst out from Nathan's hands. And at that point the Templar is shocked as he dodges out of the way as the flames pass over his head. Nathan looks at his hands as if he's never done that before. At that point, Dominique sighs. I thought so. He pulls out his sword. You're a mage. Nathan gasps, and he runs off, and Dominique runs after him. It is at this point when Gwenaël, you start to chase after them, I'm assuming, and you start to materialize. You're no longer a ghost. Nathan
What?
Nathan is running for his life away from Dominique, and Dominique stops for a moment. He turns around and he raises up a signal to try to alert some of the other Templars at the tower as they also start to come rushing out. Nathan turns towards you, Gwenaël, and he is shocked and he recognizes you.
Nathan.
Gwenaël? I thought you were
Nathan?
dead.
No. I don't know what I am right now.
Finally, we get to Maximilian. Max,
All right.
you are again disembodied figure, and you are inside of what appears to be, well, out of character. You're inside of a mage tower.
A mage tower. All right.
You see a Templar. Out of character, it's Dominique. He seems very upset about something. You follow the Templar, because he seems like he definitely might be up to no good. Yes, no. He goes over to what appears to be a library of some sort in the mage tower, and there's a young girl there with short hair, and rather pretty looking girl. The Dominique comes inside, and he says, "You." Jody looks up, and she says, "Yes, Sir Dominique." She's by herself in this library area, and Dominique says,
This for my sake, what age is Jodie looking about in this timeline and stuff? At the
the
moment?
same age,
I know I can't see.
the same age that she was the last time you saw her.
Okay.
All right.
And Dominique says, "You." Again, she says, "What can I do for you, Sir Dominique?" Says, "I know you know." "I know what?" she asks. He must have said something to you. Where is he headed?" Are you talking about... You know exactly who I'm talking about. Your friend, the abomination. She says, "He is not of an abomination. And no, I have no idea where he went." The Templar says, "Don't lie to me, girl." The day that he somehow managed to escape from the Rite of Tranquility, he's somehow was able to outsmart us by managing to somehow get escape from the Rite of Tranquility, but it's not going to happen twice. Jody
20 years.
Jody just stands up defiantly and says, "You can scare all the other mages here, Sir Dominique, but I know exactly who the abomination here actually is." With that, Dominique gives her a slap across the face. And she looks towards him and says, "Oh, so worth it." At that point, in a rage, Dominique, something comes over him, and he grabs Jody and pins her down onto a table. She shrieks as she tries to cast a spell, but Dominique is able to channel his Templar abilities to nullify his power. He pins her down with one arm, and with the other arm, he says, "I'm warning you, girl. Tell me where he is," and he starts undoing his pants. Things
And I can't do anything.
are about to get very ugly very quickly.
Um,
And through Maximilian's will, he's able to appear and
nice.
ready to intervene. So, while this is happening, meanwhile, back to Lealden.
Well,
Lealden, you guys are making your way. You guys are making your way with Cogs out of Orzammar.
Well, we're in the Fade now.
You're in the Fade. You're in the Fade, and as you're running, the scene around you transforms back into Orzammar again, and there's lava around you. And behind you, there are golems chasing after you, and Cog says, "Not again." In the meantime, Delwyn,
Yeah.
Delwyn is running, making her way through the Fade as well, and the area around you transforms back into a forest, and you hear the sounds of a pack of werewolves howling, as you make your way through the forest. You see a river, and at that point, Plim says, "This way. We might be able to lose them across the river." You guys,
It's getting
make your
old
way.
real fast.
So, just to give you guys a sneaky peek at what's going to happen in the next session, let me make sure everything
Alright,
is...
I'm all like,
I know.
even though I'm all like, I want to see what happens next.
Yeah.
Strangers, what can they expect to see in the next part?
The next exciting episode of Dragon Ball Z.
All right,
From
so
Dragon series.
first of all,
He's gonna get it.
Whoa.
we will see Gwenail and Nathan. They are making their way, escaping from the Templars. They reach a rickety bridge similar to the one that Lealden's parents were crossing over a chasm, as Templars are chasing after them. In addition, we have the library that I was talking about, with Jody on the table, Maximilian at the entrance of the library, and Dominique domineering over her.
Alright.
In this corner... Hold on. We have...
Scroll around a bit.
Scrolling. Ah,
There we go.
There it is. That's
There we go.
River.
We have Delwyn and Plim escaping from a bunch of werewolves together.
Wait a minute.
There's Dylan.
Jody's here.
And last but not least, We have. Oops, sorry.
Oh,
Cogs
Don't drop
and
anything.
lava.
oh, cogs and lava. More lava.
Yay.
Lava and cogs. Cogs and lava.
It felt like so much about to say lava. Why did it have to be lava?
With I think it's Lealden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the start of next session, you guys are separated. You all have your individual
Hey,
scenarios.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens.
It's gonna be awesome.
Well,
Night versus Watchman.
I told you guys we should have started from the base. And look what happened. We started from the base. All of a sudden shimmying down a rope doesn't seem like that bad of an issue anymore, does it?
No.
So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed all the backstory. Sorry I did most of the
Yes.
talking, but it answered some questions. Now you know. Gwinnell,
That's
your
true.
parents know Archer. Apparently.
Yeah, no, my parents do not know Archer. They know a poor boy named Arthur.
Yes.
Also, so that's the haughty servant elf that Gwinnell happens to think Delwyn reminds him of.
All right.
Take that compliment.
And
Hey.
Maximilian, you're with
Jody.
Jody. You have a chance. I gave you a head start.
Yay!
I love how that worked out. I was like, oh my
Give you a
god.
head start.
Nice. And
Unfortunately,
Fine, you know what? Fine. I'm happy with Nathan right now. Let's let that for now.
Oh, come on. I
But-
have little sympathy for Gwinnell, because he's got the captain, he's got Delwyn, he's got Nathan, he's got Jody. That's 4 options. Like, 4 options.
It's not
I have
mine.
0 sympathy.
Yeah.
nice.
I like her. She's feisty, Judy. So
She is?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she said that, I immediately just wanted to go,
yeah,
So-
sassy.